Oh, hello. Hopefully we're live. We're gonna start doing the week two recap and week three predictions pretty shortly. I got my boy Sheep. Say hello, Sheep. What's up, Sheep?
What's up? We're
Weeks.
live.
Sweet, sweet. Yeah. Hopefully, you know, what were your thoughts about week two?
Insane. There were a lot of great matchups. A lot of predictions that didn't go to plan for us. We did our predictions last week, which just goes to show that in this show, our predictions mean nothing. And if anything, I'm glad that our predictions did not go to fruition because it ends up with lots of surprises and it makes APL a little bit more interesting, right? Makes it a little bit more interesting after week two. So, and we'll dive into it, I'm sure. But I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shocker for I think a lot of the matches I've seen. I mean, even there's even still matches I haven't even gotten around to watching the full match. I've just seen kind of bits and pieces, and I feel like that's
Yep.
every week now. I'm just playing catch up, and it's just, am I going to be able to? Am I going to be able to watch and get this info in time?
Yeah.
Um, Looks like we already have some. We have
People lining up.
Soprano. Yep. What's
Yep,
up,
yep, yeah.
guys? Ghana in the chat. Ghana played an amazing game.
Ghana Vanguarda. He was Vanguarda. Ghana, you played well, my dude. But there is one clip I have to mention from the stream yesterday where there was an airhead that was dropped on second point, and he used an AT rocket to hit an infantry guy instead of the airhead, and everyone in the chat was like,
Oh.
"Ghana, no, Ghana, no." So I believe that's him, but he already said goodnight. Oh, I don't know if they're saying good night, like they're leaving,
Good
or if
evening.
they're just saying it's a good night. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully they're all doing well. We do have some special guests. We're gonna have some team reps join us pretty shortly. Just kind of talk about what they think happened, and kind of get into it. And Ghana says he didn't see the airhead too. He did kill
yeah, I
108.
figured. I think we all figured he just didn't see it. It was a great shot on the infantry, just not on the airhead, you know. But 108 kills, savage, savage. Yeah. And they still won. So does it really matter? No, doesn't really matter. You know.
Yeah, I have to say. I mean, I think that was my favorite game.
It was a pleasure to watch, man. I'll tell you what, it was such an exciting match. But I'm sure we'll get into it. We'll talk more details on some of these matchups that we had in week two. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, do we want to? How do you think you want to work this? You wanna grab some of our guests in first? You
Let's
want
do
to?
it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's
All
do
right.
it. We got with us. So XL has just joined the VC. Just joined the stream. XL. No, I give you no notice, but you're in here. So welcome, XL.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, dude?
Oh, I'm gonna have to balance your audio too.
Yeah, we got to target you up, man. By the way, what's up, Mission Nitro, and what's up, literally the entire nation of Brazil in our chat. welcome.
So, Excel, tell us about week two with Esprit.
At least for us, LL Main is the new meta, as I'm sure you guys know and have noticed.
100%.
So it's a new map. I think a lot of teams in the last seasonal were really hesitant to play on LL Main, even though there was like that balance fix with the Access not having, the STG, the G43 and stuff like that. So we're kind of just, kind of expanding our borders with, we think Allies is kind of advantaged on certain bid points. So we kind of just had to see how it goes. And if we lose, we lose. But I mean, we took it very seriously, of course, but it's just, this is the time it's not like a knockout round in the APL or anything. So it's kind of the time to expand the borders a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think after playing two matches on LL, do you think it has potential to not necessarily be a meta map, but be more of like a Utah or Omaha in the future, or like where do you stand on it after playing these two matches? What are your thoughts?
I think if teams are not prepared for it, they can get their teeth kicked in. If they just think it's you know, easy matchup, it's guaranteed access. I don't think it's like that at all. I think you really have to come prepared, or else you're going to get surprised. Especially if it's desert rat trenches. That's like the most allied sided point you'll pretty much ever see on that map. So you'll, if you get unlucky and you're not prepared, then get ready to lose.
Well, you guys have had 2 straight weeks of wins. Obviously, a little bit of a nail biter in week 1, right, against Syndicate. Capping within 10 minutes left, maybe a little bit more than that. But took a while, right? Took a while to take Desert Rat Trenches. But obviously, a way more dominant display against a really tough GBI team that did very well against Broken Arrow. I kind of want to get your preview on week 3, right? Because you've done LL Main for the first 2 weeks, and now going up against Broken Arrow, which need I remind you? So if you look back at Winter Seasonals, the first matchup that Broken Arrow had was against a very tough Alpha team, if I remember correctly. They beat Alpha, which I think people would have predicted Alpha were to win on Hill 400. This is the map that you guys have decided to go with for week 3. What are your thoughts on it? What was your thoughts kind of in the map ban process, and kind of give us your preview of this BA match?
Yeah, for people who are newer to Hell Let Loose, I don't think they know that Hill 400 is kind of our sleeper pick, and it's always been like that for a couple years now. We're very comfortable on it. I think we've only lost it in a tournament match once, and that was against DC, and that was like the Hill 400. I think that we're very confident on it. Axis there was, I think it was like 3 seasonals ago at this point, where there was like 5 or 6 matches in the knockout stage where people were picking Hill 400 because it was the most balanced map at that point. So I think that, at least for us, we're very comfortable on it. We were trying to go for Carrington allies for the pick bands to kind of get a little bit experience there, since that's not played as much. But we just have to have our tactics in place for if it's like the Hill 400 midpoint. That's really scary to play as Axis. So hopefully we don't get it. And if we do, we just have to come with preparation on how we actually want to tackle it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. One of the things that, obviously with Hill 400, kind of the stigma, at least, is the lack of your ability of your tanks to influence matches. Do you see that coming into play against Broken Arrow, who was very good infantry wise? I would think that's probably their strong suit, and tanks have been where they have struggled, not just in seasonals, what we've seen so far. In APL as well, but they're so talented infantry-wise. Do you see that as kind of evening the matchup, or do you see it a little bit differently than that?
We like to joke in Esprit that Hill 400 is a tanking map. It's just that the sight lines that you have to play and how particular you have to be with the micro on those lanes of the hills and the roads. You have to be so particular on how you play them. So highly skilled tank crews are very important on that map. You can, of course, just, turtle and holds, and maybe that can do well for you. But when the tanks are fighting, it's really highly skilled, much more than most people would expect.
By the way, I got a couple comments I'll bring up from the chat. One of them came from Pardal from Vanguardia. XL and Strikeout teached us how to make line formations 2 years ago. We were very thankful for that. So shout out to you, XL, for helping out Vanguardia, and they played phenomenal in the match yesterday. And then also, of course, Chris JT said, I got Carrington allies. I'm a better band Vaser than XL, confirmed. So I don't know what your thoughts are on Chris JT's comment, and Pardal as well, but
well, I'm glad we could help Pardal. It definitely, hopefully it helped them in their match against Chris JT and beating his ass. But Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's not been so much in the most recent times that teams have reached out to us to ask for help, but back in the day, 2 years ago, we would pretty regularly meet with some of the leads at other teams and just kind of go through our basic structure because at least one of the biggest issues with new teams coming to comp is they don't really know how to run their structure as well, or like how to organize their squads, or who's responsible for what, where can you be flexible, where do you have to commit people to, and that's like the biggest thing, and I'm glad it did help them.
Yeah, I mean, I can even speak to that. I remember back in the day, Incheon sitting down with little old BR1 at the time and showing us how we did things. And I think even that stuff is still applied in some way, shape, or form to BA today as we know it. And I'm sure these other teams, I think ESBT has done a pretty good job of, explaining the meta and how you should think about the game in a competitive sense. Um, but yeah, Excel. All right, let's hop into week 3. Um,
Yeah.
so we got BA versus Esprit as we talked about. We got GBI versus Glow TL. Who are you gonna take on that? Just win or lose.
Sin Glotiel, I would say. Oh, sorry, am I looking at the wrong one?
GBI, Glow
GBI.
TL. Yeah.
GBI. I have faith in the Aussies, so I'll say GBI.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Drill Knight, by the way. Drill
Oh,
Knight.
yes.
So
It's Allies favored.
it is Allies favored, and GBI is on the Allies, and I think that was proven by that Merc Lucky Marauders match. So which I'm sure we'll talk about on the show in a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the next one, Division 2, 75th versus 75 OG versus 3 Foys. You gonna take Chris's team?
On Carentan.
Yeah, I definitely think the 75th has this one. I think that Vanguard and 75th were definitely the two strongest in Division 2, so I think 75th will kind of bounce back, and I think their mistakes that they had in the SME match, I think, are very learnable and fixable. So I think they're going to be very focused on that and bounce back.
Yeah. All right, moving on. What about Vanguard 3AC?
Probably Vanguard.
Vanguard. Yeah, I think I'll take Vanguard on that one. I mean, they really shocked me. Really impressive. Played really well. I mean, I know we have these guys in the chat too, but
2-0.
overall, yeah,
They are the leaders now in Division 2 after winning against a really tough 75th. I think all of us can agree 75th is a very competent squad, and Vanguard was very impressive in that match. So great lines, really good tank play, I thought. So map is SMDM for that. Vanguard will be the Allies, and 3AC will be the Axis. So yeah, that'll be really interesting.
yeah. All right.
Next one is Lucky Strikes Marauders versus 10th Mountain on Utah. So Lucky Strikes will be Allies, 10th Mountain will be Axis. What are your prediction?
Did Lucky Strikes won, or did they lose last week?
They lost to Merc.
They lost to Merc.
That was the
3-2 on
and
Drill
so
Night.
and 10th also lost to Merc 3-2.
Okay.
And Lucky Strikes Marauders won 5-0 against 173rd in week 1 was the result for that.
I think this might be a closer match, but I think Lucky Strikes, or what? It's Utah. Lucky Strikes is Allies. Yeah, I would say Lucky Strikes.
Okay.
And then last but not least, we got Merc and Chad BR1.
Merc won last week. Chad BR1. Did they also
lost against 173rd on Utah.
What is this? SMDM?
Yep.
In my band philosophy is that SMDM Allies is cursed and is a throw, so I'll go with Merc on this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would too.
Yeah, definitely an interesting outcome of the previous week with Chad 173rd. I think both Sheep and I both said that would be a 5-0 for Chad BR1, and we were both horribly wrong.
We were horribly wrong. Terribly wrong. Calton, I know you're in the chat. We were horribly wrong. You guys dominated. So we were horribly wrong. I don't think I can count Merc out again. So gotta be Merc over the top of Chad BR1.
That's pretty interesting. What do you think are going to be the matches to watch? Excel, if you had to pick, one or two, you got, once again, GBI, Glow TL, you got Vanguard 3AC, 75 OG, 3 Foys, Merc, Chad BR1, and LSM 10th.
I think GBI and the Glows TL match is going to be really interesting to watch. At least for me, again, it's the same thing with LLMain, that Driel is very avoided by a lot of the top teams, and GBI is certainly a very strong team. And I'm not really sure who the roster is for Glows TL. Like, it's kind of up in the air who's actually playing on that team. I feel like I'm not too sure. So I just think it'll be really informative kind of going forward. So I'll definitely keep my eyes on that one.
Yep, absolutely. From your experience, I'm really curious because, we got teams like Glow TL, right? They're kind of new to the fray, right? Like, they got TL guys, but this is a combination that we haven't seen before. We got teams like Lucky Strikes, Mikey's, who is a combination. Chad BR1 is a combination. From your experience, do you feel like it takes a little bit of time for teams like this to kind of, in a tournament their first time, get acclimated to where do you typically see improvements from these teams, or is that not really the case?
I think it depends very heavily if the team sticks together and has a good mesh between their players. I maybe not like the first tournament, that it's always like through the duration of the first tournament that they play that they'll always get better at the end. But I've pretty much always seen teams in the second tournament come back way stronger because they've been able to get the experience more. I mean, a lot of these teams have been playing, the Friday night fights or the Sunday night matches. Like I always see, Chad BR1, Merc, and all those guys. So it's a switch that you have to flip for, like, quote unquote true comp, what they're trying to get at. So it just takes experience. A lot of these top teams that you see, they've been playing for 2, 3. Some of their players have been playing for 4 years. It just takes so much experience to kind of get to the standard of what people are trying to get to. And, they just need to stick with it. And I think they'll get a lot better.
Probably my last question for you would be, we're done with 2 weeks, right? So we've had 2 weeks of matchups. So everyone has played at least one matchup. Give us your preview of Division 1. Based on what the results have been so far, give us your power ranking of teams. You can be biased if you want to, put ESPT up there number 1. Give us your preview. Like, if you were to rank all 5 teams in Division 1, what would they be?
All right. Esprit number 1. I got to put us up there. I would say Syndicate number 2. I think they're really strong. And then GBI 3rd, Broken Arrow 4th, and then GLTL 5th. And that's mostly because I just have no idea who's actually playing on GLTL at this point. Division 2, I believe in the 75th to bring it back into playoffs. I think they'll learn a lot. I just think there was a couple things that they just need to pick up on, and I think they can maybe get Vanguard back. But Vanguard, don't get angry at me. I think you guys are 1 or 2, but I'll put Vanguard as 2. After that, I guess Ronin 3, 3AC 4, 3 Foys 5.
Okay. Man, the Brazilians are about to pop off in the chat now.
My DMs are going to go crazy. Let's see. Division 3. I don't know who I would say is the strongest at this point. Either have what is the standings right now? Have any of them gone?
Yeah, standings right now. Merc are number 1, 2-0. Lucky Strikes, Mikey's are 1-1. They're at number 2. 173rd is third at 1-1 as well. 10th, 0-1, so they'll be on fourth, and then Chad BR1 is also 0-1, so they're number 5 right now.
All right, I would say Merc, number 1, Lucky, number 2, probably, man, I guess 173rd 3 because they went 1-1, and I would say Chad BR1 4, 10th 5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I see your face thinking half. Like what is your like what is it? What do you think?
No, I mean, I would definitely. It's so hard for me to put out. And I mean, we'll get to sort of our thoughts in a bit, but I don't really know what to think anymore, especially after week 2, because I wasn't necessarily set on me being right for all of these, but for the ones that I got wrong, I got awfully wrong. Uh, I mean, you look at the Merc match, and I casted that match. I mean, Merc held it, and they held it so strong and so beautifully, and there wasn't really any pressure from Lucky Strikes Marauders, and to me that was like the matchup of the week, especially for Division 3. So that was really interesting, and then also 3AC versus Ronin. I mean, you and I both casted that, and we saw a different result in APL than we saw the week prior to APL starting, with Ronin now taking the victory. So, I mean, when you see me confused and when you see me sort of like thinking, I'm kind of looking ahead and going, man, what am I gonna say for my predictions? What am I?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Now that you've been wrong so many times, like me, you're like, man, I don't know if I want to make predictions. Like, it's just so tough.
Yeah, I knew I was washed, but maybe not this washed.
Yeah. I'll have to say this because Vanguard is gonna get really mad if I don't. But I do believe this. Vanguard é o número uno. Or número un, I guess would be in Portuguese, number un. So I had to pull out the Portuguese because I have no idea what they say in my chat half the time, but I know it's good. So like, I do think Vanguard is number 1. I think when it's all said and done, they'll be number 1 Division 2. I think they'll have a shot to get in Division 1, and that may be, and that's so tough with 75th in the division. But I don't know, man. I was so impressed. I was so impressed in week 2. Their line work was phenomenal. Like now I think 75th made a mistake. They came back for it with ferocity. I'm curious to see what the matchup would have been if they hadn't made that mistake. That mistake being the lack of responsiveness when they were getting capped on second point. But man, Vanguard was so good. I mean, they won in pretty. Now 75th made it very competitive, But man, Vanguard was good. Vanguard was so good.
I think Vanguard does really well at like understanding where on the map they should be pushing, and how to kind of exploit the territory. I thought their opening was pretty solid, and then like the post cap of how they immediately kind of went into the city and controlled over the top, while 75th was kind of stuck on their front line, and then there just wasn't enough of a response from 75th on Western, and that's kind of like that communication thing where it's easy to fix. Like technically, like we just need to communicate more, call for help ahead of time when you start falling. But that's the kind of thing that the aggressiveness from Vanguard was really impressive at the beginning of that match.
Yeah, I could definitely. I agree, 100%. I'm really curious. I'll get one more take from you, from my side. Vanguard, well, they did two things that were definitely not typical. One, I don't know if you saw that clip of Vanguardo with the AT gun on that 3rd-story building in the window. That's one. And then 2, running tank commanders outside of the tank and spotting for tanks, trying to get different angles. I don't know what your thoughts were on those couple strategies that Vanguardo was running. It seems very atypical, but I loved it. I loved watching it.
I think the roof play was really nice. Esprit has been known throughout our history for some cheese AT guns, like on top of the radar in that one Utah match. So props to them for putting in the research. We had no idea that existed, to be completely honest. We saw that and we freaked out. I mean, it's one of those strategies that it's like you use it once and then you're done. Like everyone who at least pays attention to it should automatically know there can be an AT gun built in this house. So it's kind of one and done strategy, but that was great prep from them to be like, I'm going to use this if we get Western, and that's really heads up play. And then what was the second question?
I think that was it. That was the tank commanders outside of the tank.
Tank commanders outside of the tank. I mean, more typically, we like to have our tank commanders driving for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Since they're the ones kind of communicating in command chat and they can see the marks, they can navigate the tank to where they know they need to go. I feel like there's this weird dynamic when the tank commander is the spotter and he's just like ordering his minions around. Like, what is the driver like doing there? And also, if you're a tank commander and the spotter, you're looking at your map maybe half the time or a third of the time, and you're not actually spotting. So it's kind of a weird dynamic there. I mean, I think it's good for their strategy there where they were hiding behind the hedge and then getting out to kind of look where it was. But I would probably say it can be good, I think, at a higher level when, maybe the next tournament, or if they do get Division 1, I think they'll have a harder time doing that because those tanks need to be used to kind of suppress the enemy infantry. We saw that 75th was able to push in like front door back into Western. And if the tanks were maybe engaging infantry rather than hiding behind a hedge, hoping to, catch a tank out, maybe they don't lose Western there. So there's pros and cons to what they were doing there.
Yeah, very interesting. I always feel like when it comes to tanking, those niches about where you decide where your tank commander even sits or even just, getting out. I feel like I never really get the same answer. Everybody's a little bit different in that regards. But it is interesting to see that I think at least in comp, for the most part, both are viable and both do seem to work, but everybody has their preferences at the end of the day, and everybody has a firm stance on what they agree is the meta.
I think it's based on the crew. As long as the crew's on the same page, it probably doesn't make that much of a difference, but it's just if the crew is familiar or not with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
Well, thank you, Excel. Really appreciate your input on this week. We're going to try and get another team rep in here shortly, I believe. Yep. But we love hearing from you, man. Hopefully we can get you on next week too, and get your comments and thoughts about, ESPTBA and, the weeks to come and kind of what you think about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And good luck in your matchup, by the way, on Hill 400. It's going to be a banger. That's going to be a banger to watch. So really excited to look for. Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. So thank you, XL.
Yeah,
have a good one, guys.
Take care.
Yeah, so I believe, if you want to bring them in now, or we could talk for a little bit, but we have Slick from Marauders ready to go to join us. So,
well, the question is, do we want to fire through our predictions really quick?
We can.
Or should we wait?
I think we'll run it real quick. We'll run it real quick before we bring them in. Okay, so let's look at the matchups, right? So we've kind of already talked about it. ESPT BA on Hill 400. Man, I want to say BA, mainly because of the history of it, because their infantry is so good. Their infantry, I mean, Broken Arrow, like, they made that GBI match very competitive, came back, fought, and this is a GBI team that's really good. But that being said, and it's tough to tell where GBI is at. I still see them as number 2, even over Syndicate to a certain extent. It's close, but I see GBI over them. And Broken Arrow made it very competitive. Go looking at that matchup between GBI and ESPT. How much do you weigh and say it's LL Main? Because clearly ESPT, they know LL Main. Like they have figured LL Main out. Is that matchup, that loss 4-1, a matter of they the quality of the team or not understanding the map. And you know, I think I still got to go ESPT just because of the quality, and I still think that they're number one. But I think BA can make this very competitive. So I'm going to go 3-2 ESPT on Hill 400.
Interesting. I do agree with you. I think ESPT has shown just how strong it is. And I believe last time ESPT and BA scrimmed, I casted that with Indra and it was on SME. And BA almost pulled out the victory, sub 4 minutes. It was one of the most impressive matches that I've seen from BA while still resulting in a loss. That said, I don't think ESPT is going to take them as lightly as they did in that previous match. So I'm even going to take a 4-1 because you look at how they play against GBI. Every single time they play GBI, they take them to town. And I mean, they took them to town last week, and it was a brutal match for GBI. And I don't think they're going to show BA any mercy either. So I think it'll be a 4-1. I think BA
4-1. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, let's move on just so we don't waste Slick Sports time.
GBI Glow TL on Drill Knight. Man. So tanking was clearly a big part of that Merc versus Lucky Strikes Marauders match. And GBI has shown very good tanks. I was incredibly impressed by their tanking against Broken Arrow. I'm gonna go 3-2 GBI. 3-2 GBI. It's also, I mean, I think the allies, they're a little more drippy on Drill Knight. The British are just a little bit more drippy. But if Glow TL plays, I mean, Glow TL's got good tanks. They got Wix up in their tank crews. But I think XL is right. It depends on who they bring. So I'm gonna go 3-2 GBI.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, I can't confirm this, but I think GBI is, I spoke mentality when it came to ESPT BA. I think mentality comes into play here. GBI, had a rough week last week. They played excellent, but at the end of the day, it's good old Esprit, and I think this week they're going to bring their A game. I'm going to go 4-1 once again. I think GBI is going to take the cake here. They have a powerful side. Their armor is absolutely devastating, as you know. And when it comes to Glow TL, it's so hard for me to week to week to guarantee what will happen because they have the ability to 3-2 GBI with a really good roster, but I don't know what that looks like, I don't know what the roster looks like. Yeah. So I think based on GBI alone, their past performances and their tanking, I got to go GBI 4-1.
Yeah. All right, moving on. 75 OG versus 3 Foys. I just was not impressed by 3 Foys. In that first matchup, they got 5-0'd by Ronin. And within 35 minutes. Maybe we see something different. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they play very competitive. But 75th, they are a tier 1 team that's not in tier 1. And I think, and on Carrington and MetaMap, I'm giving it to 75th. I'm gonna go 4-1. I'm not gonna say 5-0, but I'm gonna go 4-1 75th. I expect them to play really good line work, map control, which is something that they were attempting to do and did fairly well, even against Vanguard, even though they got the loss. And Chris JT brought a real good point. The fact that they came back and got a second point on that match against Vanguard is so tough to do. That is so tough to do. And the fact that they did it speaks volumes to 75th quality. So I'm going to give it 4-1 75th.
Yeah. I almost want to agree with you. I'm so tied. I think it's either going to be, I don't know about a 4-1. I think it's either going to be a 5-0 and 75th will take 3 Foys, or it'll be a 3-2 and they get like Town Center or some not fun point and it's just going to be an absolute bloodbath for 90 minutes. I think I do have to take 75th here. I'll take them. I'll take them on the 3-2. I'll take them on the under.
You got it. You got it. All right, Vanguard 3AC SMDM. Vanguard was so impressive. I think they're the number one team in the division. 3AC had a great week. They're 0-1 now. They had their first week match last week against Merck. You know, I think no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. 3AC played Ronin. 3-2 on Hurtgen Forest. 3AC, I think they showed much improvement from where I saw, even in that Ronin matchup. They made it extremely competitive, and I think they showed some really nice strats. I thought the AT guns up on the ridge lines, I think they showed a lot of composure and played a little bit conservatively. I think they're going to learn from this, but I think Vanguard is just too tough to beat. I'm going to make it 3-2. I'm going to make it 3-2 on SMDM for Vanguard.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm going to go 5-0 to Vanguard. If it's anything like what we saw last week, I got to give it to Vanguard. They played a mean match last week, and you weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. I think we both took them losing 2-3 to 75th. And as long as they bring their A game and they're focused and they take it seriously, I think they have the potential to 5-0 just about any team in Division 2. I mean, even bringing 4-1 up on 75th, while they didn't capitalize on a 5-0, they still, even to get to that point, is impressive in its own. So I have to take the 5-0. I feel like every week needs at least one 5-0, and I'll put it right.
I don't think I've said one yet. But I think I got one coming up.
All right.
I think I got one coming up. Lucky Strikes, Mike Marauders versus 10th on Utah Beach. So tough. It's a beach map, and Lucky Strikes are the allies. You know, I think I underestimated Merc in the last matchup, and I think the one thing that Lucky Strikes and Mikey's are going to have to look at is their tanking. They're going to have to look at their tanking. I think if they could figure that out, and I'm not sure that they have figured it out, if they could figure that out against 10th Mountain, it could be a 5-0, but I'm not going to give it a 5-0. I'm going to give it a 4-1 against 10th.
Interesting. 4-1. I don't know if I'd take the 4-1. I mean, both teams did do 3-2 against Merck. I think I have to go 3-2 in favor of Lucky Strikes. And the reason I'm thinking 3-2 is because I believe Drill is Merck's map of choice. They seem to do really well on it, and I think losing 3-2 is an impressive feat on its own against Merck on their map.
Especially after that week 2 matchup that Merck had against Marauders. So
right. Yeah. That's what I'm referencing. I think with that that loss, although it is a loss, they held their own. And I know 10th Mountain lost to Merck. I believe that was SME, I want to say. And I think with the depth, I just got to go Lucky Strikes Marauders. I think they look like a slightly better team here. But, who knows?
All right, let's make this one quick so we can bring in our boy Slick from Marauders, get his take. Merc, Chad Beater 1, SMDM. Merc's going to be the Axis. Chad Beater 1 going to be the Allies. 5-0 Merc. I'm going to go 5-0 with Merc. That's going to be my 5-0 of the week.
Would you say the map was?
SMDM.
SMDM.
And Merc are the Axis.
Yeah, I'll go 4-1. I don't know. I feel like 5-0 is pretty tough. I mean, the question is, I don't know if everybody else saw this, but Chad BR1 did build defenses. I think if they build defenses, I'll take the 5-0, and I agree with you there.
But I think I'm going to be a little bit critical in the hope that they rethink this and do it more purposefully. I wasn't impressed with the defenses they built up. Like, I think that, like, they built up these barricades with the AT guns. They were useless. I'll be honest, they were useless. The minute I saw them built up was the minute that they were taken out. And so they got to do it purposefully. I love the thinking. It just wasn't purposeful. And so if they can figure that out, they'll make it competitive. But I think that Merc is too good. So, but you got 4-1 for Merc.
Yeah,
on SMDM.
I think 4-1. Merc goes 3-0.
All right.
But yeah.
All right, let's bring on our boy Slick. So we bring people in without any notice, but Slick, the comp lead from Mikey's Marauders and Lucky Strikes, thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk about week 2, right? Guys, very impressive week 2. One, really tough week 2, right? Against a really tough Merc squad. I know all three of us spent a lot of time talking pre-match about this matchup. And I think a lot of the things that we talked about beforehand, unfortunately, came to fruition. Give us your thoughts on the matchup, man. Where do you think it went wrong? What do you think are the positives to take away from your side?
Well, there's kind of a multifaceted thing here. It's kind of one of those scenarios where you knew going in, there's not a lot of footage on the map. There's not a lot of references to go into it. So, kind of prepping for the map was a little bit different than any other map. So, awesome match. The only problem with drill is obviously you've got quite the river to cross, man. So I would have liked to have seen our guys have a lot more MG fire and a little bit more condensed control up in the front door. Maybe even a little bit more spread out on flanks at times to try to catch them out of position. But man, they locked that bridge down. They did a real great job, man. So hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Merc, when you look at it, like I think I had Merc as the number 1 team in Division 3 going into this tournament. So they were obviously a good team ahead of time. I know Half has maybe a different opinion than me, but I had them as number 1, and I think their tank play was very stellar. I think their angles that they had were phenomenal. So let's
at the
talk
end of the day, it came down to superior planning. They had it on lock. So hats off.
Did they have the double band? Remind me, did they have the double band? So was that their choice to go with Drill Knight?
Yeah. I it's funny, on the map ban, I tried to curve them into Kharkov and they picked Drill on me. So really interesting. So
you were like, surely they won't pick Drill Knight, and then they picked Drill Knight.
I was like, no way, nobody picks that map. And then I look and I'm like, I didn't even realize how British heavy that side was, man. And I'm like, oh, I stepped in it, man. I stepped in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's better to learn your lesson now, though, than come like semis and wind up on Trill against Merc. I think, as Excel said earlier, this is the time to experiment, and it's, it stinks losing, but it's okay to lose.
100%. Good teams lose all the time.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So unless you're WTH, then no, WTH lost in seasonals. So I'll take it back a little bit, but. Let's do a little bit of preview, shall we? So week 3. So you guys are going up against 10th Mountain, long-time established team. Obviously, Matthews is the founder of APL, so very established name. And on top of it, they've been around for a long time. They lost 3-2 against Merc, just like you did in week 2. So. And on top of it, it's SMDM, classic map. Actually, no, I'm looking at this wrong. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm saying this right.
We're on Utah. Yeah.
Utah. That's right. It's on Utah. Um, man, beach map with you guys as the allies on the beach a little bit. So, because it was between that and what base Omaha, right? So like, man, you guys were or no, last band was SMDM. Okay, so
Mhm.
so you
Yeah, we went a
so
little
you
bit
guys
more on
picked
meta
Utah.
picks.
You guys picked Utah, huh?
No, they actually picked Utah. But
Oh,
we
they
kind of,
picked Utah. Okay,
yeah, we had the option between the two. They picked Utah. So
interesting.
that's what I would have done if I was them too. So
That's fair. That's fair. What do you think? What do you think are? I mean, you think you guys have the upper hand against 10th Mountain, or you know, what are your thoughts on that matchup coming up in week 3?
Man, you know, I'm always going to be a little bit biased toward my guys, but but at the end of the day, man, they're a great team. Like you said, well established, great leadership. So you know, it should be a nice tight match, nice and tough. Both, you know, it's all about mid control. So you know, I like our chances. We've got a little bit more real estate on our side, but crossing a lot of open fields in that 4th point. So
Yep.
it's gonna be another bloodbath. But I'll climb beaches all day before I cross another bridge.
Yeah, I think we need that in quotes, man. We need a poster that says, "I would rather cross open fields than a bridge."
Yeah.
1000%, man. So it was it was a interesting experience. But yeah, Utah, man, I'm excited. I know 10th Mountain's excited, so it should be an all-out great war. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what about your predictions for the rest of Division 3? You know, we see in the other match we have Merc versus Chad BR1. Who do you think? Who would you take in those odds?
well, Merck's a tough team, man. They strat well. You know, I got a lot of respect for Chad BR1. Taking a tough loss to 173rd right there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they bounce back from this one. I'm going to predict Merck on this one 3-2 with a hard fought Chad BR1 game. You know, I think strats and planning and cohesion of Merck is really, really good. It's going to be exciting to see how they kind of rise to the occasion for this one. So they're a tough team.
Very interesting.
Interesting. I had him 5-0. 5-0. It's Slick played a little conservative there. 3-2. 3-2.
Yeah,
I like
I got a lot of respect for that community over there. So, you know, in all honesty, it's going to be real easy for them to get 5-0 if they don't stay on point with these guys, because they will take advantage of every mistake you made, and they showed with us. They took advantage of our mistakes. So, kudos.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've really seen a lot of APL, and it's really been kind of heartwarming. You know, we have a lot of teams that are a little bit more new to tournaments and kind of how serious other teams take them. And it seems like, especially in Division 3, you know, technically like the lowest division, everybody has stepped up. And I want to say from the teams that like have been available, I think I've casted um only Division 3, although I take that back. I also had it one Division 2 on week 1, I believe, when Almighty was not available. But man,
when he
let me
didn't
tell you,
show up.
yeah, shout out Almighty wherever he is, probably MIA again. Um, but those have been some crazy matches. You know, those teams show that they're not here to just goof off and mess around. They
Oh.
I don't think there's been much, if any, complaining. You know, everybody seems to have it on lock. They understand what needs to be done. They're getting it done, and they're having some of the craziest matches that I've seen. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I sit up there with BA in Division 1, but 10 out of 10 times I'd rather cast a Division 3. I mean, going into this, you know, we may talk about this and touch on this a little bit later, but I think Lucky Strikes Marauders versus 10th Mountain is going to be kind of the game to watch. I mean, you also have GBI Glow TL, but one of those is going to be very meta, and then the other one is going to be meta with a little bit of chaos and a little bit of unpredictability, and that's kind of what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm all about it. It's I'm sure as a caster when you're watching, the usual metas, watching your usual stalemates with some of these really great teams, without a lot of, lots of conservative plays. I'm sure when it gets down into these other divisions, man, it's a blast to watch. So
You know what's funny? You say that, but I watched Vanguard against 75th in a match that was not a stalemate. If anything, it was
what
a
a
back
game!
and forth a deal. A great match, phenomenal match.
Yeah,
Um, did you have a favorite match of week 2?
man, I did kind of have a favorite match. I got to be honest, man. The Syndicate TL game was a really fun one to watch.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit Syndicate biased. That's kind of where I got my start with.
really.
Yeah, that's where I started out. Um, naturally, they said I wasn't good enough to be rostered in the tourneys, but I had a lot of respect.
But look
for
at
that.
you now! Look at you now!
Yeah, man, it's been a blast getting this team together. I know we're only about 6 or 7 months old, but it's been a great time partnering with Lucky on this one. But yeah, that was probably my favorite match. They showed a lot of superiority on that one, and that's what you want to see from a team like Syndicate. So,
Yeah, for sure.
wild card game, 175th BR1 and Chad. Wow, what a game!
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely
What's
an unexpected match. If you had to,
173rd, man, they came out.
yeah,
After
they
having
came to play.
5-0'd. Yeah, they came to play, man, and they showed Chad BR1 that they're not to be counted out at all. So they're right back in the thick of it now to be a competitor in Division 3. To been such a competitive division, I love it. I mean, I think any of these teams could be in Division 2 next edition. So, which is so exciting. That's so exciting to see.
It is, man. It really is.
so slick. Now we have the question of within Division 3, what are your predictions for the overall outcome? If you had to rank, 1 through 5, where are you putting everybody? And of course,
Your power rankings, your
Yes.
Division 3 power rankings.
Hey, I'm a little biased toward us on that number 1 spot, but last week Merck showed they were a little bit better this week. So they're obviously the team to beat. So they're going to go on my number 1 spot. I feel pretty comfortable hitting that number 2 spot, but you're looking forward to that first tourney match if that's the case. I've got 10th Mountain pulling a 3rd. I got Chad BR1 pulling the 4th card and 175th in the last place.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
That's you said power ratings, so
Yeah.
Power rankings.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the best? Who's the best?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's,
Absolutely.
that's my power ratings for that.
Going into this tournament, I would have said almost the exact same thing, with the exception of you guys being higher than Merck. But I mean, Sheep noticed me earlier with my face cam. I have no idea now. I could not tell you my power rankings if I tried for Division 3. I mean, that 173. I mean, you brought up that 173rd Chad BR1. Sheep and I were convinced, and then I tune into the stream. I get done with my stream. I pull up Sheep and his boys, and his boys are streaming the Chad BR1 173rd game. I pull it up and I look and I go, oh my God, 173rd. 173rd is on their last point right now, or on.
He texted me. He texted me and he was like, "Yo, what is happening?" I was like, "Yeah, this is happening right now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I think it came down to maybe one or two things. Maybe an underestimation on one team's part, or maybe they just didn't show up to play. But they've given us a hell of a game on. I'm speaking on Chad BR1. They gave us a hell of a game a couple different times. So, like I said, it's going to be great to see them bounce back and see them rise to the occasion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing too, I think we've seen with 173rd throughout this season is their tanking. Their tanking has been truly,
Phenomenal.
phenomenal. Yeah, perfect word. It's unreal.
Yeah, 100%. I think all these teams, like you said, all these teams have the potential, 100%. If anybody sleeps one week, they're gonna get punished for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think so. But the good news is, we still got 3 more weeks left of matchups, and then the playoffs start, and that's when the real stuff happens. That's when teams they'll be real. It'll be real time. But they're being very competitive in these opening weeks, so it's been super fun to watch. So
Agreed, man. Agreed. It has been a blast.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, way too early in advance, but I'll be curious to see, out of Division 3, out of Division 2, who pulls out, the craziest stuff for these playoffs, these semis. Because once it comes to semis, obviously everything gets ramped up when it comes to strats, when it comes to practices, when it comes to just general readiness. It's good. It's not at a 10, it's at a 12, it's at a 15. It's way higher than it normally is. And with that, you get teams busting out some crazy things like AT snipes, potentially tank snipes. You never know, and that's something I'm really excited. I would love nothing more. I would scream if I saw a tank snipe in Division 3. So one of you guys better make it happen.
hell yeah.
Man, we're gearing up for it. We're definitely trying that route. We see a lot of Division 1 teams doing it. Hey, we try to copy the best and try to do it a little better. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. 173 getting a lot of love in the chat right now. By the way, that's so funny. Absolutely, dude. I agree. So, you got anything more for our voice, Luke?
I think that's it, man. You did great. I'm really excited to see your match against 10th. Like I said, I think that's probably gonna be one of the matches of the week that people are gonna be tuning into and gonna be watching.
It'll be so much fun. It'll
Yeah,
be so
really
much
curious to see who's going to be streaming it. I mean, I know I assigned the casters, but even I don't know yet. So
fun.
whoever ends up finding that list, I'll be super excited to tune into their stream. And yeah, I mean, best of luck. I think you guys have a good match on your hands.
yeah, I think so too. 2 really exciting weeks in a row. So in my opinion, what better way to prep for the playoffs at the end? So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, thank you, man. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for giving your
Yeah, man.
input. Always appreciate your predictions. Always appreciate talking to you. Seriously, hopefully we'll get you next week too. I want to hear your predictions. I want to hear what happened in this match that we have not experienced yet. I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about it for next week too.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, sweet. Yeah, anytime, guys.
Yeah,
Slick, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys have a good one.
You too,
likewise.
man.
Take care.
So I got to pull up the chat for a second because 168th the Legion, Lucky's versus 173rd was a fluke. We choked low key. Won't happen again. This strong word, and I mean, you can't hardly deny it. I mean, like they played so well in that week 2 matchup, and then obviously they're on a bye this week. But exciting to see what happens for them in week 4. And then I have to say this because all of the Brazilians were on me to say it. Segui or líder. I hope they heard me say that. I said it, so I don't know what that means, but it has something to do with Vanguardia.
We're gonna get off stream, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be banned off Twitch.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Yeah, dude, freaking man. I'm excited, dude. So all the matchups right now are on Saturday. The only one that hasn't been decided in terms of time is ESPT versus Broken Arrow. So we may have an entire Saturday just chock full of matches. So that's gonna be kind of cool. We got matches at the same time. So I don't know if someone wants to do a watch party and have multiple cast up at the same time. Not a bad idea. To stream that on Twitch, not a bad idea.
Yeah. Um, I am hoping for Saturdays only. I am not a fan of streaming Sundays. Obviously
It's
for certain
tough.
teams, it's better. I'm just a pansy, and I like my Saturdays to be quiet and boring. But plus, then I can just digest it and watch all the VODs. It's my day to
Yes.
just relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, lots of good matches this weekend. I think.
Do you have a favorite? You have one that you're looking forward to?
Let me head over to this week 3 schedule real quick.
Yeah.
Uh,
ESPT versus BA, GBI versus Glow TL, 75th versus
I
Three
have
Boys.
3 that I'm very interested in. I have 75 OG versus 3 Foys because I don't know, 3 Foys only played one game and we really don't know too much about them. I mean, like, you can say what you will, but at the end of the day,
True.
if 173rd is saying their match against Luckies is a fluke, who's to say that 3 Foys doesn't pull together and beat 75th?
Fantastic point. Fantastic point. 100%.
Like, we could be wrong about all this, so I'm very curious to see how 3 Foys stacks around 75 OG. I'm also very curious to see Vanguard versus 3AC because Vanguard super strong, very impressive. Not sure if they're. I want to make sure that they're still my number 1 pick, so I'm going to be very curious to see how they're going to play against 3AC. And very critical, even if they win. That's something to know. I think a win can mean a lot of things, but a good win is different than, just kind of a normal win, I guess you could say, if that makes any sense. Might be
Yes.
rambling here, but I have Vanguard favored here. Very curious to see how 3AC is going to pull out the stops on them. So that'll be a good one. And then, of course, Lucky Strikes versus 10th. That seems to be the most even matchup in my books this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're not to the point yet, but I think for Chad BR1, Merc is a must-win matchup. I hate to say that coming into week 3, but I mean, if you're looking at it, like, they just lost against 173rd. Lucky Strikes and Marauders have been very strong despite losing to Merc. I think for Chad BR1, this is going to be, they're going to have to at least be competitive, if not get the win, to be taken seriously in this Division 3. And I think they can be. I think they can be, although I did say 5-0 for Merc. So maybe I'm not maybe I'm not articulating very well tonight in terms of Merc versus Chad BR1, but I think Chad BR1, this is their coming out party. Maybe week 1 was a little bit of a fluke, and now it's time. And now it's the time, especially on a meta map like SMDM. I'm going to put my number 1 matchup at ESPT versus BA because I think BA is in upset alert. I truly do. I think that, like, I think that ESPT, as strong as they are, man, like, just like Slick said, even good teams lose. And ESPT, man, the one thing about BA is that their infantry is so strong, their positioning so strong. On a map like Hill 400, it gives them a little bit of a boost. They don't have to rely on their tanks as much, and I think that that's going to be critical. Although XL said jokingly, it is a thing, and Hill 400 is a tanking map. So I don't know, man.
I could see it. I mean, I think the one team historically that played it really well was TL. TL back in the day, Mr. Do. Mr. Do used to run a disgusting tank strat down that red road up the middle. And he was killer at it, and he was kind of, at least in my eyes, known for that. But I get it. Those forest maps, if you know how to play them, they get pretty dirty. But
Yeah.
it takes a lot. Even even going against a good opponent, you have to be a step above your opponent to be good in that situation. I think to be
Yeah.
okay.
I'm gonna ask a question. I'm kind of curious. Obviously you haven't watched all the VODs, and I haven't watched all the matches altogether. Although I've looked at some of the stats. Do you have a player of the week? Do you have any players that you just like after watching you're like, holy crap, like did not expect that at all?
Um, I have one name that I've never seen before that really did surprise me, and this was from the match that I casted, Lucky Strikes Marauders versus Merc, and that was Owens, who played the Recon. I believe he dropped over 100 kills. I want to say it was something like 140 at the end. Very
Yeah.
impressive. I know, Large Mouse also played Recon for Lucky Strikes Marauders, a little bit more well known. For good or for bad, but because of that, not as surprising. When I think surprising, I think a name that really jumps out. I didn't get to see Ronin versus 3AC as much as I should, as I have quite a few players from Ronin that I am really interested in. There's who's it? Pecky and Gonzabolso.
Yeah.
Gonzabolso?
Yeah,
Um,
Gonza. Yeah.
Crazy players. And I mean, you saw Ghana in the chat earlier. Ghana even dropped
Ghana's my player of
108
the week.
kills.
Ghana's my player of the week.
He may have
And,
whipped that one shot, but the rest of his kills cover for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like despite that play, and first off, like at the end of the day, when it comes to that kind of stuff, if you get the win, you get the win. Maybe didn't see the airhead, but we all make mistakes. But I think the fact that he got over 100 kills in that matchup against a very tough 75th, and I remind you, when we did the interviews, one of the things that these teams mentioned, both of these teams, is that they play in 18s against each other all the time. Like every single week they play against each other, and it's very even. So the fact that he pulled over 100 kills in terms of infantry play, it's just phenomenal, just phenomenal. So as an AT guy, at the same time. So I think Ghana is my number one guy. Shout out to the Brazilians in the chat. I think Ghana is my number one guy of the week, player of the week. I think we should start that player of the weeks for like maybe Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. Do player of the weeks. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think, and maybe even like who's the tank crew of the week. I think tank crew of the week, in my opinion, I'm gonna give it to. Man, we got ads going out. I hate that because I don't know if people can see it or not. I have an ad hidden. I think my tank crew of the week is gonna go to 173rd. I think there was a tank crew, Kantar and Boom, from SBSR, who were playing with 173rd. I'm gonna give it to them because they played absolutely phenomenal against Chad BR1, and it made an impact. It made a real impact in that match. So I would like to give it to Vanguardia, but it was such a back and forth affair. I would have a tough time choosing which crew to go with on that. So I'm gonna go with that's my top tank crew of week 2.
Let me go to week 2.
By the way, McCraith, my boy Half with the fresh cut, looking sexy.
Yes. Had to get it cut. Yeah, for week 2, my tankers. No, you know what? This isn't even a question for me. The minute I think about this, it's Gold Star for Merc.
Oh, from Merc.
That man held an off angle, and I don't want to talk badly about Merc, but I guess I will. I would have never expected them to hold an off angle on that bridge. To me, like, I think that's stuff you don't even see in Division 1 as much, holding off angles. People will hold off angles, but you also just see, tankers all have egos, so they'll always think I can just push them. And I've never seen such an armor dominated map before in my life. when I say that it was dominated, there were 3 heavies on the board at all time.
Yeah.
Gold Star was able to take out 2 enemy Tigers back to back. And then Gold Star also, kept 3 other heavies alive. I'm not sure if he was the one leading their armor, but excellent work. And then they had a 4th heavy waiting for them in the middle spawn. It was.
The
And
only
they
time
also
that
had a
I've
half track. They had a half track.
the only time that I've seen that is in seasonals finals, WTH versus ESPT. That is the only time that I've ever seen armored dominance like that. So, which is, I think, huge. I think that's huge. So, yeah, absolutely. Eric Osala, it was a lot of Tigers down. I agree, Vanguard. I agree. I said armor crew, not armor team, because Vanguard had played so well armor wise. My only problem with Vanguard was at times they played so aggressive that they ended up losing tanks. That's my only
Yeah.
issue, and I part of me is just hurting because when I think back to it, it's true I was there. Gold Star just said that. It's true I was there. My only issue is that I think back to this play where they, 75th had a Tiger on the board, and Vanguarda pushed in the Stewie. And man, if they just come up on the underneath the rear of the tank, man, they could have gotten it. They could have gotten it. But then, and they got good hits on it, but they die. And then the medium pushed right behind it and didn't died too. And that's my only issue is like they played so aggressive. They
Well-
played so aggressive, and it cost them just a little bit. But that being said, man, like it was crazy to watch. But 75th made some good plays too, because if you watch the match, at the very end, 2 Tigers went down, and guess what was standing? 176, or sorry, one Tiger for 75th was up and running, pushed itself into the point, and was getting cap progress. So like they outnumbered Vanguard when it meant a lot, and they didn't pull out the win, but man, they made it competitive. So that's my only thing against Vanguard. But man, the tank commander outside of the tank, I think is so brilliant. I think it's so brilliant, and something you really only see in pubs, but I think it worked for them so well.
Here's what I'll say, and I think Eric said it really well in the chat. It's all about risk and return.
Yeah.
I am not mad at the fact that Vanguard sent it was their light and then their medium. What was it? Like Stewart and then 75 against the Tiger, and they both died. To me, that's okay. As long as you keep your 76 on the field, you gain that intel, you make them have to repair, you keep them on their toes. They're flustered. You still have your 76. I think that's it's not an amazing trade, but I think it's an okay trade to make, and it's one that can be justified. If I saw them dive this 76 into the Tigers' rear end and then get blown up, I'd be on board. But because I can justify my theory as a tanker is it's a coping mechanism. When I die in those non-existent tanks, the lights, the recons, the mediums, I think, okay, well, they're
Yeah.
free spawns. They're free spawns. It doesn't matter.
That's true. Now you get to bring heavies up to play, right? Like, and I do get that. Maybe it's just because I know what the Stewie is capable of, and it just pains me to see that they were so close to getting the kill and they didn't get the kill. And I'm kind of like, bro, like, dude, so close. But here's the issue too, like, what would be better? Having the Stewie up in play and getting shots on infantry, even though they or now the only thing that's on the board in terms of armor is a heavy for the other team. That's the crux. But at some point you got to bring up heavies. You got to bring up heavies at some point too. So dying early actually provides somewhat of an advantage in the fact that, like, okay, now we can bring up the heavies. We saw that in a scrim between 3AC and 173rd. So 173rd got the early tank kills, and then they pushed up their PZ4, and then what happened? Well, 3AC had just started pulling up their heavy 76 and wiped the PZ4. So now they're back into armored control, even though they lost their tanks at the very beginning. So, and if they take the point despite the lack of armor superiority, then it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Because it's like this game is not decided by who wins on the tanks. It's decided by who holds most of the points at the end of the day.
Right.
And so Pardo, Stewart and medium Sherman cost 0 fuel, and we have 76 coming. Exactly what we were kind of talking about. So you're 100% right. So yep. And I guess winning the initial tank plays allows you to play a little bit more aggressive later on when they do bring in heavies. So absolutely. Then it brings up the question: do you start trying to come up with strats to bring up the heavies while you got your lower tanks out in the field? Maybe not, because you can only deploy so many tanks at one time, so you got to get it destroyed at some point. I don't know. It's really interesting.
What you typically see, or at least what we've done in the past, is you'll see the tank commander get out, and he basically says to the driver and to the gunner, he goes, your job is to cause as much chaos as possible. I am going to go drive up this heavy. And so the tank commander will get out or redeploy, get in the new heavy. Hopefully there's already a heavy on the board. Otherwise you wouldn't be as sacrificial. And then you drive up that heavy and pray to God that your tank commander doesn't hit a mine or do anything stupid and get in a bad engagement. And then you, as a tank gunner or tank driver, the two of you go to town and you cause as much chaos. And it's a lot of fun, first of all, for the tankers. Second of all, I think it's a good way to get intelligence, possibly pick up a garrison, maybe even a tank. If you die in the process, you just spawn off the nearest garrison and you get picked up by a heavy that's already close.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Grimmy brought up a good point. Do you take the loss off the bat with tanks and drop the heavy ASAP? I mean, it's a really good point. It's a really good point. And man, it's such a tough one to call, because I've seen mediums in that Vanguardia versus 75th match, we saw PZ4 take out a 76 up on Western Approach. Like PZ4, if you play your cards right, you can get them kills. It's just, but clearly there is an advantage to having that heavy armor. And I don't know. I'm just such a Stewie fan. I think that's my bias, and that's the thing that I know you don't want to hear it. You can shake your head all you want. But it's the GOAT. It's the GOAT, man. Like I mean, our Lux is good. Yes, they're good. I mean, we saw Stewart just plinging off of a Lux in that same match, that Vanguardia 75th match, but man, the Stewie, it's magical, man. It's magical. Tanks blow. Let's talk about MGs. Meoper, Jay. Good point. I mean, do you want to talk about MGs, or do you want to call it a night? We could talk MGs if we want.
Yeah, I got a little bit of time. I can talk about MGs.
Let's talk MGs, shall we?
Yeah.
That was the one criticism, I think. One of the one criticisms that 75th had in their match in terms of holding Western Approach. KO was the one who was saying didn't see any 75th MGs up in Western Approach, and I think that we're seeing this in multiple matches now. LL Main is obviously an MG dominated match. Slick mentioned in his match, Unreal, the lack of MGs cost them. And I think obviously MGs are known to be important, but I think that some of these teams are realizing, man, like your ability to use MGs and suppress and get force people to lanes is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I will say that since the dawn of time, since I started playing Hell at Loose Comp, and I've been in this competitive scene, from top teams down, looking down and spectating teams below them, there has always been the comment of, why are you not running enough MGs? And from the perspective of being in that lower team and being asked that question, something that I also see on the flip side is that it's really hard to get people on your roster to sit still for 90 minutes and say, hey, look at this bridge for 90 minutes. If people come, shoot them. If they don't come, still sit here. Because MGs are used for zoning. They shut off a lane completely. And the problem is if the lane's not active, then it's gonna be so boring for the MG. You're just sitting there and you're just, and if you can put that discipline and you can get those MGs, I mean, at least from what you hear top down, it will make the world of a difference. And I mean, I feel like you do see that. You see people like Coco from GPI, killer on MG.
Yeah, did phenomenal in that BA match up on Pierce Farm. Just completely cut them down from coming front door and on the west side of that hedgerow on Pierce Farm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of my little tidbit about MGs. I can find anything to get emotional about, but something I also want to get emotional about, and I want to hear your opinions as well as the chat's opinions, is I want to hear about AT. Because when it comes to AT, I think there's too many pointless rockets. Especially if you're Axis and you have the Kar 98, you have a crappy gun and you're just firing 2 piss missiles and hoping that they kill somebody. And the counter argument is that you look at these streams and you do see people like Pecky, Gonza getting lots of kills. I mean, Vanguard too, all these South American teams, they're nuts with AT. They really are. It really blows my mind. But also, if you have a Kar 98, why? Just shoot them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one criticism that Broken Arrow had waged against them, was the amount of rocket shots just hitting the fronts of heavy tanks, and you're just like, man, like, I know you're just trying to get shots on tanks, but at the same time, like, if it's going to be worthless, why risk it? Let's be patient with it a little bit and try to get rear shots on these tanks are fine. I mean, even if it's track shots or whatever, like, because at the very least, when you're going to get a rear shot on a tank, when you get that tank hurt, they're going to pull back. It's going to make them rethink. If you're just deflecting all over the place, like, it's not as bad, right? Like, especially if you don't have that discipline. I think that one of the things that we saw Vanguard do really well is we saw them doing long range rocket shots as infantry measures, and I think that's becoming more of a meta as well. Is looking at AT as more than just your ability to take out tanks, but also to take out infantry as well and keep people from flooding into certain important areas, and I think that especially from long ranges, and I think that, like, it's more than just rocket snipes. These guys are doing it way into the match of, like, just denying areas with AT rockets, and I think that right there is absolutely critical. And on top of it, one of the things that you didn't talk about, but I think is super important from an AT perspective, is we're seeing a lot of AT guns being utilized in these matches. GBI has been very much at the forefront of just using multiple AT guns. I think on a map like Drill, you may start seeing a lot more AT guns being utilized, just because you have those far sight lines that you can use them for. And like, I mean, literally, like, if you get an AT gun just right, you can get it off on the side of the bridge and hill, and you can hit those angles, kind of like what Goldstar was doing in his tank, but do it with an AT gun. And I think that right there is going to be not just from a tanking perspective, but also from an infantry perspective as well, in terms of denying areas and getting pressure on points. And even if it's to make people think about staying in defensively, I think that right there is absolutely critical. McQuaid said, "Yeet Kanan all the way." Every time I change from AT to another class of recon, just spawns right in front of me, is what Meoper said. That's the irony, dude. That's so. I mean, isn't that true, right? Like, as soon as you need a class and you've just switched off from it. I mean, it's so true. But then again, we're not seeing a whole lot of recon tanks really being used And we saw it a little bit in that Vanguard to 75th match, but I mean, for the most part, the matches I've casted, really not seen a whole lot of recon tanks, except at the very beginning. And so, now your AT rockets are going to be used to deter tanks to a certain extent, and infantry support, not to necessarily kill tanks all that much. You're really just trying to. I mean, we've also seen it too, where it's almost a combo of like you get the AT rockets and then a tank is right there to finish them off, or vice versa.
Yeah.
We saw an AT mine kill the other day on a heavy, craziness in that Vanguard at 75th match. So not a huge a huge facet of the game, but certainly I think that like in the right context, AT mines are absolutely critical as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's always interesting to see how these infantry, and especially like AT, is utilized. I mean, something to, we saw the AT gun on Third Story this weekend. That was really critical. We also saw a lot of satchels. On the buildings. And I thought, hey, it works. They identified that people were in that building clusters, and they said, let's get them out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. Almighty said, I'm here. What did I miss? We just talked crap about you not showing up to that week 1 casting. That's all. But your stream on the Ronin versus 3AC one was a great stream. So hats off to you for lots of eyes on it too, which is always great to see. A lot of exposure for APL. So really like it. Compton said, we need a Russian map. I agree. But none of you guys want to run Russian maps. So 3rd week in a row, no Russian maps.
A little birdie told me BA was trying to get Kursk against ESP2.
Kursk. Would that have been a night map? Or would that have been a daytime?
That's a good question. I don't even know. I would assume it's
Kursk
day.
night.
But...
It would have been night.
Oh.
It would have been night. I want to see Kharkov so bad. I love Kharkov. I think it would be cool to watch. Imagine a battle over St. Mary's as the midpoint. Would love that. So, if any of the leaders are in here, guys, please, I am begging you. I'll even take a full schedule week 4, all Russian maps. I'll take it. Even if they're all Kharkov, I'll take it. Compton said Russian map for week 4 coming. Yeah, I agree. Let's play it. Kursk, let's everyone play with 15 FPS. You say 15 FPS, I say high ping. I mean, what's the difference? We're being honest. No, I would love it. I don't care if it's Kursk or Stalingrad or Kharkov. I don't care.
Yeah. We definitely should see. I mean, hey, the people are in the chat. They can make it happen, Or I see a little bit of Vanguard, a little bit of Merc.
Compton was the first one to say about getting a Russian map in here. Purple Heart Lane, anyone? Nope.
I like Purple Heart Lane. Spoiler: there's a lot of tank snipes.
There are a lot of tank snipes. One of my favorite matches, actually the best stream that we've ever done, was a Purple Heart Lane map. It was ESPT versus FOC. And that was an incredible match to watch. It just gets so difficult with I literally just watched Chris JT, US Ranger, and all them boys try to push a point for literally an hour and just get RD'd and just killed the entire time just because it's so open. But that fight over that middle road is so huge. And if a midpoint is the middle road, battle ensues. So,
King brings up a good point. Mortain, when it comes out.
The footage is great. I didn't get a chance to
put the
play
finals. Yeah, there you go. From Mio. Finals on Mortain.
I'm not opposed to that. At all. definitely, hey, if you guys want that to happen, just go into the APL server and just because at here pisses everyone off, just do at here and
Don't-
spam Mortain for the finals. It should be available, right? It should be available by the time the finals happen, maybe.
I don't even know
I think
when it's
that'd be
supposed to
insane.
release.
I think that'd be insane.
It seems like a pretty good map from everything that I've heard.
Parnell just said, "Sheep, we pay the bills when we buy a GPU. It's 1 year saving money to buy an RX 550." I'm so sorry, dude. You guys play great, regardless. Though, whatever rigs you guys run, you guys play phenomenal. So hats off to you. Yeah, absolutely. It's either that or the final is gonna be offensive mode.
Don't say that. I don't want that.
Offensive mode. Offensive mode. Hey, chat. Hey. Offensive mode. Offensive mode for the final.
I'd be down.
On Remagen.
I was about to say I'd be down for Remagen forced mid cap for a finals. I feel like it's always suggested, but I think you put that into reality, that'd be a good match.
I think that'd be phenomenal. The problem with Remagen is if it's any of the side points, bro. And then it's just decided. That's. I mean, because if you play disciplined and you play well, like, thank gosh you guys don't choose the maps.
Yeah.
When are we having an offensive comp tournament? There's been actually some discussion about it. I don't know if I can. The problem is right now, we could preview it a little bit. We have APL right now, right? And this is supposed to end at the end of February. It will immediately be followed by HCA. 3 weeks of HCA, which is actually really short, which is kind of nice, kind of a quick single elim tournament. But that's going to be immediately followed by seasonals. So we have like nonstop Hell Let Loose competitive for a long time, like a long time. And on top of it, we have Thursday Night League for 18s happening right now while APL is happening. So doing an offensive tournament, I think is going to be so rough to try to schedule it and get teams. Although that being said, maybe some of these teams that wouldn't be able to compete in HCA or seasonal, since it's certainly they pick the teams that they get in. Maybe the teams that aren't part of that, maybe they'd be interested in doing an offensive tournament. You never know. We're gonna call it Half Let Loose, and that's gonna be the offensive tournament. I know Half doesn't like that, but my boy Sad Panda, by the way, has had great ideas for it. So maybe at some point we'll have to discuss, what would a offensive tournament look like? Because I think it can be done. I think it is viable. But ban SME, ban SMDM, ban all the meta maps.
Worst 2 maps in the game. I
You think
stand
so?
by that. They're just boring.
I've not been hanging out with Matthews, by the way.
Knives only. I'm down for knives only. Sticks and stones. Make that a
Sticks
new
and
game
stones?
mode.
We did a with 75th hosted Remagen Nightmare, and that was a 49v49 knife only on Remagen Bridge, and that was insane. I love it. It's on our YouTube as well if you want to check it out. It's so much fun.
Were smokes and nades allowed?
Smokes, no nades, and on top of it, Artie could launch Artie smoke rounds onto the bridge. In fact, that's how they knew when to start, was they launched a smoke round onto the bridge from Artie. And so everyone ran in, and people would shoot flares and make it like this really cool ambiance and stuff because it was Remagen night. And so like it was super fun. But they balanced the spades since then. Yeah. There's a lot of opinions on all of this stuff. I didn't realize people had opinions on these at all.
Yeah, I think Pardell really likes his meta maps.
He said, "Half, are you missing your meds?"
Who knows? Probably. You
Uh,
know what? No,
yeah,
actually, I'm the most sane person here because I don't play anymore. If we're being real, it's the people
yeah,
in the
you cast,
chat.
but you don't play. I play a lot, except up until recently because of all the casting. And so, if anyone wants to roster me, maybe I'll just stop casting for a week and I'll play comp. I don't know, but I know then Vanguard is gonna be like, "Sheep, join us," but then I'm not gonna be able to know at all what they're talking about because they're all gonna be speaking in Portuguese.
Now's the time to learn.
Bro, if Vanguard wants to teach me Portuguese, I will learn Portuguese. I know Spanish, but I don't know Portuguese. I can count to 10 in Portuguese, I think, if I remember correctly. Un, Deutsch, Três, Quat, something like that. Oh
That's
man,
four.
they're gonna
All right,
they're gonna
let's-
blow they're
let's
gonna
keep
blow me
going.
up. And shut up! They're gonna blow me up. I don't want to say it wrong though. It's been so long. I used to play with Brazilian soccer players, and so they taught me some Portuguese, but it's been probably a decade.
Oh no.
É bem diferente na verdade do espanhol. All you gotta say is joga bonito Neymar. Say eu amo a Vanguarda. I bet that means I love Vanguarda. See, I know I can interpret some. That's hilarious, dude. The Brazilians are crazy, dude. I love it. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, dude.
Probably all 28 people watching right now are all repping
Except
Vanguard.
McCraith and Almighty
Those guys don't count.
and Compton. I count McCraith.
I
Oh, I know
gotta,
there's an ad.
I gotta make sure. I thought I switched those off. I just got affiliate, so I'm like still bugging with all the settings.
All right, we're no more ad right now. I think we're off the ads. Let us know in the chat if we're off of ads. Fala Vanguarda vai ganhar o campeonato. I think that means Vanguard is going to win the championship. Pardell, tell me if I'm right or wrong. And half always counts as one half. Yes, this is true.
What?
This is true.
I'm trying to turn off these.
Yes, I got it right. Okay, let's go. Okay, I know a little bit of Portuguese apparently. At least I can interpret.
Ooh,
Oh, that's funny, dude.
I see.
That's hilarious, man.
All
Vanguard to teach me Portuguese, I'll learn.
right,
I'll
I
learn.
turned off these ads. Hopefully, they're gonna be pretty good. I don't really know. Haven't played around with them as much.
See, that's why I don't want to do affiliate, dude. I don't want to
Dude,
do
it-
the ads, man.
It's so annoying too because pre-stream I turned off the ads, and I was like, "Well, there's no point in running ads, right? Because we're just
Well, you'll
doing
make some
this."
money from it then. You'll make some money.
Yeah,
Joey.
okay. I'm gonna make 3 cents off of these poor guys hating me. The problem is you can choose, but your settings don't always save.
Right. Yeah, the beauty of streaming and casting, right? Like nothing ever works to plan, dude.
No.
Nothing ever works. Half, I'm gonna call it for me. Now that I know my Portuguese, I am good to go.
Yeah. I think we end it here. I mean, it's been really well. I know we've been just kind of shooting the shit, talking about whatever. You guys have been killer. Really huge thanks to all the Brazilians in the chat. Almighty's
That's
lying, bro.
Oh gosh. Gosh, dude.
All right, I owe you. I'll buy you guys what is it? A Radeon 550 or whatever.
A Radeon, I wonder how much that costs. You better be careful before you.
Yeah.
5500 is probably what it is. XT. Let's see.
How much am I?
Before
in
you
the-
say that. Before you say that.
Okay, I'll give it to the
Okay, it's not that bad. It's
Okay.
not that bad. 169.
169. Damn.
Oh no! I must be looking. That's the MSRP, but then I look on Walmart and it's 470. On Amazon. Oh no, they're not. They're 150 on Amazon. What do you run in your system, by the way?
I run a 3060, so I do need to upgrade myself.
Really?
But it's not bad.
I run a 7900 XTX. That's what I run.
Fancy boy.
Well, yeah, I went a little bit overboard, but that better last me for years. That's all I gotta say. Better last me for years. I can play Hello Lose just fine on it though. I will say it's helped me on streaming a ton, dude. King Damadou went into the general chat and he put Mortain for the finals.
Oh no.
We just started a mess, dude. We just started a mess. Oh my gosh, it's getting
Ugh.
so many likes. It's getting so many likes. Helps Pardal. Yeah. Now Half's gonna have to pay for Pardal's new GPU.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. I'm gonna start racking up all these fees. Then I'll really crank up the ads.
Valeu até a próxima semana. See you next week. I think.
Yeah, I
King,
think
you have to tell me if that's right or not.
if it is, I mean, what better time than now?
Dude, let's just start a +1 train in the general chat for the Mortain for the finals. Just a long list of +1s, dude. Dude, it's gotten so many likes, dude. Oh my gosh, it's blowing up.
Let's take a look here.
It's got 11 likes.
Poor Velo and Matthews are gonna wake up in the morning and they're gonna think, "What did Sheep in Half do?"
Dude, we just started something that we can't unstop now. King Damadou, this guy lied. Oh my god, dude. What did we just start? Oh, that's so funny. And we didn't even start it really. Someone said Mortain for the finals. Who said that originally?
I think that was King.
Meowper. No, Mortain. King Damadou. Okay, so King Damadou said Mortain when it comes, and then Meowper said finals on Mortain only. So Meowper gets the cred for the. Okay, King gets the credit for bringing up Mortain, and then Meowper gets the credit for saying it as the final. That's beautiful, dude. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 +1s so far.
Man, I have to be careful with my words. I'm about to start financing all of Vanguard's CPUs and GPUs.
Bro, Mom just said Pardal PC will explode in Mortain. That's hilarious, dude. Yo, we need to start a freaking what do you call it? We need to start a GoFundMe for Pardal's new GPU.
Oh no, I lost us. There we go.
Almighty said I'm about to drop an at here in General Chat for a +1 trade.
Almighty.
If he did that, he would blow up the Discord. And he's gonna do it too. Watch him, because he's prefrontal cortex not fully developed yet. Oh my gosh. Oh my Emma Almighty's chatting right as I say that, dude. He's gonna act here. He's gonna act here, dude.
Almighty
We need to
Fawn.
cut the stream. We need to cut the stream, dude. What have we done? What have we done? We got too many people watching this, dude, for this to be happening. Dude. He's gonna do it too. I'm just waiting for him to do it.
Pardal, send me what your setup looks like, and I'll consider it.
My PC crashed at least one time per day. I really need help. Sheep, have mercy. Oh no, I'm considering it now too. Damn. The problem is, oh, he almost did it.
Oh,
He almost, Almighty, you're playing with fire, dude. Oh, and then he tags me. Why are you tagging me?
damn, he's a snitch.
Why are you tagging me? Almighty, here's what I gotta say. You better get all your BA boys to go into this chat and do +1 for that. That's all I gotta say. You better get all of your BA boys to go +1 for Mortain final. Make it your life's mission. Pardell can see tanks from 1,000 meters away. Don't believe him.
Yeah, I got to see the setup before I start sending out graphics cards. Think about the shipping cost, man.
Meowper said we are calling every Vanguard to chat now +1 on Mortain.
There you go.
I bet I can get SBSR to do it. They would do it because they're crazy. Bet GBI would too. Except Terry. Terry wouldn't do it. I don't think Terry would do it.
I don't think so either.
Because Terry would be like, imagine a good map and bad ping.
Oh, Almighty just called the GBI boys to bring their
Thank you.
+1s.
Brazilians, Meowper just said 2 a.m. here in Brazil, by the way. You guys are amazing. We have got to cut the stream.
Yeah,
I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Guys, let's call it. Let's call it just for the Brazilians' sake.
Yeah, you need to get to bed.
I do need to get to bed. And the Brazilians need to get to bed. Because if we keep the stream going on, they will stay. They will stay.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks. I mean, seriously, thanks to everybody who comes out. I'll fix my ads so poor Pardell's PC doesn't crash. We'll do this again next week. Hopefully, all your matches go well. You know, looking forward to casting every single one of them, or at least watching them at the very least. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me. You got anything else, Sheep?
Nope. Let's go to bed because they're literally saying that they won't get off until we turn off the live stream. So,
all right. Good night, guys.